Hello everyone, Future Bradley here. This is part 2 of previous episode. It was a really long recording session, so I split it into 2, so I wouldn't start this one until you've listened to the previous episode, or at least until you've listened to the last segment of the previous episode, because we jump straight back in. It's continuing exactly where it left off, talking about the CCP in China. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Again, please do listen to the last one. You know, you don't have to listen to them back to back, but it provides a lot of important context for this episode, and I hope you enjoy. Thanks. Bye.
Okay.
No, stuff like that I can understand, yeah. When I said media, that's the reason I didn't say social media, I said media specifically. I mean, in terms of their content, like...
See, that is very political. But,
it is.
Yeah, I guess, and that's also what we were talking about, which is where do you draw the line between... So, like, yeah, where do you draw the line between how to run a perfect country and where to stop controlling everything? So to run a perfect country, by definition, you would have to control a lot of stuff. Otherwise, let's say, for example, in a population of 1,000 people, you let them do whatever they want, a lot of good things could happen. Yeah. A lot of bad things could also happen.
Because perfect is so subjective. There's the perfect of economy, perfect finance, perfect crime rate. But again, for me, as a human being, it's about freedom of the soul. It's about the perfection of the soul.
But that's where it gets difficult. Like, so for example, you're trying to create the perfect country. So you restrict crime, you restrict finance-related things. Or, well, could you almost say it's like they're trying to make it almost like a simulation where everyone is acting very predictably, you know, like... Or I guess more so that the country is I guess stable and predictable. Yeah, because that's what you want, right? Otherwise, like, if you had 1,000 people doing whatever they want, good things could happen, bad things could happen. It would be random.
Yeah.
But that randomness can generate good things, but it can also generate bad things.
But that's life, man.
That is life.
Yeah. But as a government, you don't want to rely on random. You want to have some sort of sway as to whether or not the future of your country is going to be good or bad.
Naturally, I think the best way for humans to be is to behave and be structured in a way that means that we're going to be around for a long time. The last thing that we want to happen is that too much erratic randomness happens and we do something that causes the whole of civilization to fall and humans are gone. That would be the worst. Because humans are, whether you like it or not, we are the pinnacle of intelligence. So we are the closest animals who have ever come to basically
Yeah, but it doesn't mean we're the
preserving
closest
life.
that will ever come.
That's true. But it means we are the closest so far. So it would make the most sense for us to push towards preserving life. Because as far as we know, the universe will go cold and life will die. And that's bad, right? Everyone can agree on that. That's bad. The universe goes cold, there's nothing. Something is better than nothing. Well, something is better than nothing.
I don't necessarily agree with that either.
I would agree with that. Mathematically, it makes sense.
No, we've had this discussion before. But I think if the something is bad enough, then nothing is preferable.
I think the discussion we had was when we were at the pub and I said something along the lines of...
Yeah, it was at the Wolfpack.
Is it better to have something if you don't know what that something is? So say if you didn't exist, you don't exist. That's blissful. Ignorance is bliss.
Well, no,
so
it's not blissful, it's just nothing.
Yeah, it is just nothing. It is just nothing. But would you rather have that nothing, or would you rather have something, and that something you don't know? It could be good, it could be bad.
Well, no, there wouldn't be good or bad, because good or bad can only be defined by when you put it next to something.
Exactly, yeah.
Like a pair of... Actually, I used this analogy before. Like a pair of curtains. A pair of curtains is only a good pair of curtains or a bad pair of curtains if you have something to compare it to. If they're the ugliest curtains conceivably possible, but you have nothing to compare it to, then they're just curtains. But if you have the ugliest conceivable pair of curtains put next to another pair that are even uglier, then suddenly they're nice curtains.
See, I understand and I agree with what you're saying.
I do too, I just want to add, but the analogy, that kind of curtain analogy kind of falls apart because the curtains aren't sentient. It can't observe itself and decide whether or not it's good or bad.
And also, in my analogy, I was using good and bad in the crudest of forms. I was saying, is the nothingness as good as the something, which could be, in this instance, Earth, and on that Earth, you could be anything. You could be something on this Earth. You don't know. You don't know what it's like on the other side of nothingness. So would you rather have that or...
What the audience have to realise, I'm a pretty nihilistic guy, and the argument essentially boiled down to, would you rather exist or not exist, but not know of existence?
Yeah.
And I can understand your viewpoints.
See, I when it comes to things that are really subjective like this, that can be boiled down to simple, I say maths always wins. And something equated to any value is, if it is greater than 0, then it's greater than 0, meaning it's better, it's favourable. Like, that's what a computer system would favour, that's what a mathematical system would favour.
I remember literally bringing this up in our last argument about it, because I was like, yeah, but we're human beings, we're not fundamentally, physically built on logic like that. Sometimes emotions just overcome. And if you've got a life where you were born into shit, you're going to die into shit, you're getting beaten, bruised, bloodied, pain every single day, in my opinion, how is that better than not existing? Just because you exist, it doesn't fundamentally make it better than not existing. That's genuinely.
But I feel like as long as there is some meaning and purpose behind the existence, even if they don't see it, then
there might not even need to be meaning or purpose. It would be kind of like, imagine it like, people do that to themselves. They'll have a horrible experience for the thrill of having a horrible experience.
Yeah, but that's
like,
yeah, that's true.
But people do that. So imagine you're like a deity or some sort of being that doesn't know what existence in the physical world is like, and it births itself into a physical world to experience pain and anguish and horror.
Okay, no, actually, you brought up an interesting... All right, let me reword it as this. Instead of pain, all that stuff, you're born into a world where you can't physically, emotionally, in any way command what you do. Like, those people putting themselves through pain, that's their decision. They ruled that into place. You are born into a world, you are born into a body where you can't control anything. Everything's just happening to you.
Yeah, I know that, but I mean in the sense that if the two things are separate, right? So,
yeah, but that's kind of my point. The two things are separate. It's so subjective, and when you try and apply maths to it and say this must always be greater than, I'm like, no, there are some scenarios when nothing is better than something. Do you get what I'm saying there?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Because it's so subjective, you can't have a definitive statement. But my statement has become vague enough where I say sometimes nothing is better than something. Not all the time, but sometimes.
Yeah.
I feel like that's not a statement you can disagree with. If an existence is that full of turmoil, to the point where it would be better if you didn't exist, then that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. It'd be better if you didn't exist. So non-existence is better.
Better if you didn't exist according to who? Only the person that is experiencing it badly. See, somebody else.
Yeah, but isn't that enough?
Is it from the perspective of the person experiencing it, or is it from an outer perspective of like an overview?
I think the best way of putting it is from the person who is their perspective, because you could technically do that for anyone. I could look at someone who's incredibly happy and be like, that person's miserable.
Yeah,
and that would be my own. My opinion's irrelevant in that matter.
What if it was like a video game? So, like, what if, for example, your life, or what we're doing right now, my life, through birth until death, is just, it is what it is. Anything that happens is out of my control. But imagine all of that is a video game experience for someone or something that can't experience the physical world.
No, actually, you brought up a great point. Imagine we find out life is a simulation. At that point, because again, very subjective to him, I'm asking his opinion here, you, Hector. At that point, it's a simulation, it's all fake, nothing means anything. Would you want the simulation to continue on as if nothing's happening, or would you rather it just be stopped?
Continue, yeah.
See, I'd rather it just be stopped.
Just be stopped? No, keep it going.
For what purpose?
Because something's greater than nothing.
And also
exactly. So we've gotten to the root because I just do fundamentally disagree. I think again because it's about what you put into it. If I genuinely believe that,
it'd be like, would you rather watch a sad movie or not watch a movie?
No, it's not like that, because in a sad movie you can still get positive things from that.
That's the same with even the most awful life, in my opinion.
Yeah,
because
take something as
terrible. You're
underestimating
how awful.
Take something as terrible as the Holocaust. Okay, you have Holocaust. You have people who died in the camps. You know, they didn't make it out. Yeah, but I'm sure in that time that they spent in the camps, there was still some degree of happiness that they could draw.
A baby born in the camps.
Yeah.
Last 6 months, dying of cholera.
Yeah.
Dies. How is that better than nothing?
I can tell you how. Because I can guarantee if it were technologically possible for that experience to be bought and experienced by someone as it is in its rawest form, you go in, you have the experience as the child, some people would do that.
But if you that's a bad analogy, because if you could do that for every emotion, then yeah, of course some people would try and feel every emotion.
Then that means it's worth something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again,
it's got to be worth something.
It becomes such a subjective conversation, because it really, something like that, it does just boil down to your own personal views on life in general and existence, you know.
Yeah.
Like for me, I know nothing. I felt nothing before I was born, and I'm fine with that. The fact that I was born, that's why I truly am not afraid to die. Because I'm not going to feel, I'm at the point of death, I might feel scared and all that stuff. But once I die, I already know what that feels like. Because I didn't feel anything. That's all it is. Yeah. No, you laugh, but that is it. That's all it is, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
Like, I don't believe in a heaven or hell. I believe this is it. But that also makes it equally as meaningless.
I have an interesting question. What if your past experiences in previous lives you just can't bring to this physical body, and it's your soul that continues to live?
If at that point it'd be irrelevant. Even if that was the case, if you can't remember and it's just your soul, but your soul is so inwards that it can't even communicate with the rest of you, it's irrelevant.
Yeah, I suppose so, but that doesn't make...
That's like if you, for example, if you went somewhere, banged your head, you lost all of your memory. You remember how to speak, you don't even remember your name, you remember how you got there. At that point, how relevant... You're never getting those memories back. You're far away from home. You're never going to see anyone you ever knew again. How relevant are those memories to you now? They're not.
Yeah. I suppose that's true, but what I'm trying to get at is if you go about because nobody really knows what they've done in their previous lives, or if they have any, or if this is the only life you get. And so say you take the stance that you have had previous lives, and you are going to have future lives as well. I like to think that as long as you live your life to the best of your ability, you're going to progress humanity to be better.
Do you know
and inevitably it will progress and be better.
Alright, but I've got two things to bring up there. One, do you know there's way more evidence for the idea of a past life than there is for heaven and hell? Like there's a story I heard of ages ago. I read it online. It could be fake. I'm not going to lie. I read it online. Let me preface it. I wasn't there. But it was of this boy who, much like Hector, was having nightmares, like terrible dreams. And
there's a film that's based on this.
I think there is, yeah. And he wakes up and he describes them to his parents. And his parents actually start looking into it and discover that he was essentially dreaming of an actual murder that had happened like fucking 40 years ago. You know, and he was able to describe it so perfectly that they went to he essentially solved, if the past life theory is true, he essentially solved his own murder because they went back to what he described.
Really?
Yeah, and they actually found the body.
Yeah, there's a film based on this. I can't remember what the film is. Oh wait, no, it's a film that's to do with eyes. They use eyes to connect it all together, and then in the end, it's like a lift.
Oh,
and the woman gets cut in half by the lift.
Because his girlfriend, he loses his girlfriend who dies in a like tragic lift accident.
Yeah,
and because he catalogued her eyes, because he had an interest in cataloguing people's eyes, because he believed that everyone had unique eyes. And yet somehow...
Like a Shinigami eyes? Like what?
Like everyone... Like, take your iris, for example. it's like your fingerprints. No one on the entire earth
I've seen what you said.
has your eyes.
I get it, yeah.
And yet somehow...
And he found a girl that had the same eyes.
He found a girl that had the exact same eyes, and he went through this interview, you know.
Okay, yeah.
Talking to her.
He showed her, like, pictures, and she reacted to certain pictures.
Yeah, but by the end of the interview, his conclusions were drawn. There was no correlation at all that he could find. And it was then he took her downstairs, and they went over to the elevator, and she was just terrified of the elevator, and she wouldn't go near it.
Yeah.
And so then they went down the stairs.
That was when he realised that this is her.
Yeah.
Because his wife died in a lift.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I haven't seen that film, but yeah, it could totally be based on because that's not the only example. Because I went through a real period where I looked up what are essentially real life X-Files. Because there's so many, man. So many things.
X-Files?
Yeah. You know, like the X-Files?
No.
Cases where it's just unexplainable. Like, what the fuck happened, you know? And the best... not even... I want to say the most logical, but... You can take that with a grain of salt, I guess. But they're so unexplainable that, if anything, the most logical explanation would be the supernatural. Or the extraterrestrial. Like, a real-life X-File that has been debunked, in a way, is what happened to Elisa Lam. Do you remember hearing about that?
No.
Alright, so Elisa Lam, she was a Chinese student who went travelling around the world. She ends up in America, and she went to this hotel, really famous hotel. I don't remember the name of it, but it's a hotel where a bunch of serial killers have been known as. Like the Night Stalker, Rodrigo Ramirez, I think his name is, maybe. Really famous serial killer. He used to stalk out there. Like, really bad place. So she goes into this hotel one night. She's there for, I think, 3 days. Like it was, actually. I think, genuinely, wow. I think like 3 days. Now, on the third day, there is no one... She broke off contact with... She stopped talking to the people she usually talked to, essentially, her family and shit. No one really heard from her. There is video footage taken from the elevator, no audio, of her... The only way it could be described... So she gets into the elevator, and it almost looks like she's performing a ritual. The way she's communicating with the world, she's pressing buttons, and then the creepiest thing about this video, it is a really genuinely creepy video when you know the context, because the elevator is opening, but you can't really see out of it. But she looks like she can. She looks like her face. You can't see her face, but her body language, it's like there's someone fucking there, like right there. And it isn't. And she's doing this stuff, and eventually...
And the lift doesn't go up, or...
Yeah. So she's pressing these buttons, nothing is happening. She gets out of the elevator, and about 30 seconds later, the doors finally close. And it goes on. Nothing is keeping the doors open. The doors don't close. It's like a 3-minute video. The doors don't close until she gets out of it, and about 30 seconds later, it finally goes. And then, again, no one hears from her in this time. She goes missing. And about, I want to say a couple of days, maybe a week later, the water in this hotel is polluted. It's getting dark, like actual dark.
I might have actually heard about this.
So they go up and have a look in the water tank, which is closed. The reports say it was closed. He later contradicted himself, but his initial reports say it was closed, and she's in there dead and naked. If it was closed, X-File. Because the weight of that, not only would it have been hard for her to open it, but the idea that she could have closed it on herself too. Impossible.
Yeah.
Literally impossible. Couldn't have been done. It was so heavy, that door, that if she had held onto it and dipped in, she would have monkey barred, essentially. If she had just fallen in, the door would have had to have stayed open. The initial report says it's closed. He later said that it was open, but that was much later. And if that was the case, why did he initially say it was closed?
Yeah.
Now, with the idea that he contradicts himself, that's why I say it's a little bit debunked. Because if you suddenly just accept that, it's like, okay, if it was open, fair enough. Again, with the evidence of that video, maybe she was on like a drug or something, but she totally could have been. And she stripped off naked, she jumped in. No, she didn't strip off naked. Her clothes were at the bottom of the water tank. So she got into that water tank. Or she was...
all her clothes.
Yes. So totally, she could have been on a drug. She wanted to swim. She fell into the water tank. The door would have had to have stayed open. She fell into the water tank, realised how deep it was. She couldn't get out and drowned.
for some reason took off all clothes, whatever.
And then maybe, I don't know, somebody closed it.
Yeah, but even then, because that roof, it was open to the public, but if you were to just close it, why wouldn't you look in it? Why wouldn't you? Because again, days later, water goes running back, you know. People showered and drugged her.
Purposefully tried to kill her. What if someone purposefully drugged her?
No, but that's the thing. That's what makes it an X-File. Because a logical conclusion can be something like extraterrestrial, supernatural. I personally disagree with that. I do, but you can also come up with the conclusion that you could. That's the thing with an X-File. There's so many conclusions you could draw, and there's just not enough evidence to really determine. And something like what I was describing there with the child with the past lives, 100% an X-File. Because how do you? If that's coincidence? That's insane levels of coincidence.
Yeah, like the craziest degree of coincidence ever.
But it still technically could be, you know.
Yeah, but then it's like that thing of, you know, people win the lottery every day.
Yeah.
So, you know, being that lucky, and also winning the lottery is just one lucky thing. Think about all the lucky things that happen every day to people that you're not rewarded for. I don't know, say you...
I mean, technically everything.
Yeah, technically
literally everything that happens.
Sorry, I just actually remembered, because that was part one of what I wanted to bring up. That was a long part one. Part two, because we were talking about the idea, your idea that, you know, souls, you know, past lives.
Yeah.
So my question there would be, your idea, you said that, you know, if all of our souls, we all have past lives, then we're just continuing on and evolving into something greater.
Yeah.
But does that mean that there are no new souls, essentially? Like, everyone was someone? No souls are dying? Like, it's just constant recycle?
Well, here's a good question, because I've always liked this story. I forget the name of the man who wrote it. I've said it to Hector before, probably lots of times, but what if there's only one soul? And
I've heard this, yeah.
What if you video?
It's called the egg.
Yeah.
And what if you're not just reborn, you know, chronologically? What if time is not a factor and you are just reborn to a random point, to a random period of time, to, you know, purely random. You're just reborn at any point. Everyone is just you. So, to answer your question, what if there are no recycling of souls? What if there is just one?
But at that point, and again, this is why I brought it up to begin with. I just remembered. At that point, how relevant would it even be if we're not aware of it?
See, I feel like
I guess that's like saying how relevant would a video game be to a video game character that you're playing as? It wouldn't be, technically speaking.
Yeah.
But then if we're the video game characters, then it wouldn't be relevant to us, but we're not.
No, I can agree with that, yeah.
But we're not the one that's doing it. But obviously, if you're playing a Spider-Man game on the PlayStation, the Spider-Man isn't aware that you're playing him in a video game.
Yeah. They call that pseudo-narrative dissonance.
But so he's technically not aware that he is you, but you're aware that you are him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when he dies and restarts a checkpoint, he doesn't know that he's failed.
Yeah.
He just sees it as constant victory.
But you do. But also there is no he, it's just you.
Yeah.
But from that point, you wouldn't know that is...
You can really look at any media with that. But I think he brings up a good point.
You can't... So say in this hypothetical, you know, it was true, there is just one life being recycled. The fact that you can't...
I'd say feel it is the most important relevant.
Yeah,
the fact that you can't feel it.
The fact that you can't feel it. The fact that you can't feel previous lives...
Even if you knew it, even if someone told you that was reality, if you couldn't feel it, you wouldn't even believe it, essentially.
Yeah.
Right?
I suppose then there's the question of, if you can't feel it or then believe it, then how do you know that there's going to be any progression at all? Yeah. But I feel like...
I mean,
it's just in our nature to get better and to be better. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here where we are now.
I mean, let me ask, because you, as you brought it up, is that one soul theory? Is that something you believe?
See, I don't really know. I haven't really thought about it enough.
Is it something you want to believe?
It is something I would like to believe in. the idea of previous lives and future lives being like all interconnected. I like the idea of that. But at the same time, I suppose it all comes back to, there's no real evidence, so I suppose it's just kind of all what you personally believe.
Yeah, and I get that. Yeah. I mean, again, I don't believe in heaven and hell, but I don't diss anyone who actually believes in a religion. It's just what you do with that belief that I diss. Like starting wars and shoving it down people's throats and looking down on people just because they don't believe the same thing you do.
Spider-Man.
Created a black Spider-Man. Peter B. Parking.
Peter Parking.
But no, it's I honestly I have no opinion on anyone who believes in a religion, but it's what they do with that belief that I judge.
Yeah.
And I really do judge. I don't like the fundamental concept of religion as a whole because of the effect that it's had on humanity.
I think it's why I like the idea of Buddhism so much, because it's such an open and welcoming religion. There's so many religions like Christianity or
Catholicism.
Yeah, Catholicism in general is so it's so judgmental of other people.
Yeah,
you could go into a Buddhist temple as a Christian, as a Jew, as anyone.
As a what?
And you could go in as anyone,
and they would
as a Jew.
As a Jew.
And you wouldn't be judged. You wouldn't be judged by anyone.
But you would be Jewed.
Jude.
You wouldn't be judged, but you would be Jewed.
No, I can agree with that.
Yeah.
I of all the opinions, I mean, I'll be just straight up. Christianity is the one I view the least on. Like as in I view the lowest. I think Christianity,
which I think is also quite sad because our country is based on Christianity.
That is our culture,
and it is our culture, and yet somehow it's like the worst fucking culture. It's the worst religion.
100%.
There's no way that Christianity
There's no way that all Christians aren't going to hell.
Have you ever met someone who is deeply Christian and was a nice person, a genuinely good person at heart? No.
Yeah.
I haven't. I personally have yet to meet somebody who is deeply Christian and deeply religiously Christian, and they aren't just like a terrible, stuck-up, arrogant person.
They'd all be like, I mean, there's do you remember that family? I think it's the Westboro Baptist Church. Who they're incredibly strict fundamental Christians. They literally picket the funerals of dead soldiers with God hates fags signs and shit like that. Louis Theroux did some documentaries on them.
I just can't stand that.
People like to point and laugh at them, but they're not when I say they're not wrong, I don't mean I agree with them. I mean that is what they're going by the literal translation of the Bible.
Yeah.
I 100% believe that they believe what they're saying.
Yeah, that's the worst part. It's when you know that the person who is just I don't understand why religion would want to bring about hate to anyone, really.
Yeah.
Why would you want to? Just why? What for? What purpose?
Actually, there's a very good reason why. How would you get loads of people to be motivated in a war without media?
Yeah, that's true.
See, the fact that, because I honestly, I can't think of a war that didn't have a religious beginning, Because religion also, it ties into ideology in general, I am better because I am this, and I believe this, and blah, 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 blah.
But
that is probably what religion was used a lot for in the past.
I think it's disgusting.
I like to think about, that's true as far as Christianity, loads of wars, the Israeli-Palestine conflict, loads of wars and loads of death and everything. Everywhere you go, there seems to just be wars amongst religion. But Buddhism, for some reason, there just isn't as much. There isn't as widespread just hatred.
No, that's why I brought that up, because Christianity, lowest opinion. I have the fact that I don't have an opinion on the Buddhists and the Buddhist religion shows how unproblematic you could say they are.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a problem with that at all.
Yeah.
I've never heard any.
And
bad
I mean,
about
to be completely honest, I'm ignorant to Buddhism in general. So
is that something you mean? What religion were they in? Was religion prevalent in China?
there isn't a core religion.
There isn't a core religion. But
see, that's one part I can really agree with.
Yeah, most people in China are atheists.
Yeah, I think that is better as a whole for humanity, essentially. Even because I get the main thing with religion is about the idea of your afterlife. Is about, I'm going to do this in life so that when I die I'm going to go to heaven, see my family, my friends, my dog.
I guess you could say the main thing about religion is
it's hope.
Is its religion.
It's hope, yeah.
It's religion.
It
like
really
they generate a whole story, a rule book, all of this. The religion is like all of the culture surrounding this idea, and that tends to be the bad part.
Yeah, and I honestly, like, I get why people do it. I even if I disagree with your beliefs, I'm not gonna, judge you for having them. Whatever makes you sleep at night, essentially. But I do think humanity would be better off if we just accept death is death and allow ourselves to move on from society without, because there are people who genuinely, like, I mean, I'm gonna move to America. There are people in America who, if I told them that I didn't believe in God, would want to beat me up and fucking shoot me.
See, that's the bad part. See, I think, like, yeah,
in 2023, the year of our Lord.
I think the year of our Lord. So I think there's a big difference between believing that there is a God and being religious, because, like, religion is.
Yeah, but you can't say they're not connected.
Yeah, no, they are connected.
Yeah, they are very connected.
But I'd say.
No, I can agree. It's a big difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like.
So just because you believe in a God, like Hector, you believe in a God. Yeah. But you're not. You don't. I don't believe
in Jesus and God, because that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
If there was a God, it would be nothing that anyone could describe.
Yeah, I don't.
It would be impossible for anyone to describe.
And he wouldn't give a shit about anything we do.
He wouldn't give a single flying fuck if I was to murder, rape, and kill every single person in the whole.
He does it often.
Yeah, he wouldn't care, because the world is just chaos. We're all just a bunch of atoms.
So that's another thing with religion. The idea that, because genuinely there has to be people like this out there who, if they didn't believe in their God, would do that, would murder, would rape, would do all these horrible things. But they are so worried about their afterlife that that's literally the only reason they don't. Yeah. I fundamentally believe people like that exist. And that's a disturbing thought to me. The idea that's
prevalent everywhere, not even just in religion. Think about the idea of someone is only not doing something because of the consequences doing that bad thing will bring to them. Yeah, so, like, for example, the only reason many people don't murder and rape people is because of the consequences that would come from them doing that.
Wow, that is a really disturbing thought now that you bring it up.
Yeah.
Bruh.
But even then, I mean, at least that comes with the idea of the fear of immediate consequences. But the idea that, oh no, I could take that here, but it's the afterlife, it's eternity that I would suffer for. I'd burn in hell and be tortured and raped myself by demons. That's the only reason you don't? Like...
See, to be fair, I think there's few people that believe that, because before modern crime investigation and before modern civilization, people did rape and kill each other all the time.
Yeah.
The only thing that really stopped people from doing that was other people, I think. And that probably shows you what people's real morals are.
There were also people who, like, I don't remember who I think I had this conversation with Daniel at one point, and he was like, well, why... what was it? It was something along the lines, I had this conversation with Daniel, and he said something like, well, why don't you murder, rape and kill?
No, I was there.
You were there?
Yeah, I was there.
Murder and rape. Yeah. And I was like, he was like, are you afraid of consequence? And I was like, no, because if I've gotten that far, then consequences mean very little to me. The reason I don't feel the need to do that, the reason I don't go out and do it, the reason I don't want to do it, is simply that. I
remember we were talking about morals. We were talking about morals.
Yeah, morals.
And me and you were saying that morals are like, so for example, if you were put in a room with a woman and a child, and both are vulnerable, there's no consequences, you can do anything you want.
They're both easy to rape.
Exactly, both easy to rape and murder, right? The point being, the point being, if you would do nothing bad to them, then you have good morals because you're choosing to not do anything bad, not because of consequence, but because you don't want to.
But
you don't want to
Daniel tried to
also,
tie it
why
into...
would you want to?
But Dan tried to tie it into like, oh, you only don't do those things because of the consequences.
Because society expects you not to.
Yeah.
Right.
Essentially.
So...
See, I fundamentally disagree with that.
I mean, to be fair, I don't
like...
want to speak to him. He's not here, so I can't say for sure that's what he was going for. But from my recollection, it obviously had his toe. That was his argument. The only reason people act moral is because there's consequence and because they have to.
See, I feel like...
I think that only counts, but then that was the basis for the whole argument in general, which was that that's what people with bad morals think like. People with bad morals people with bad morals are only not harming other people because of the consequences. But then I think Dan's argument was that, well, no, that means they have good morals because they're not doing it.
Actually,
that means they have bad morals.
Still have bad morals.
But no, that means they have bad morals because they're not doing it because of the consequences.
Yeah.
No, I remember this because I also took the stance of, well, no, because you can be amoral. You can still be I remember this well. I was saying how you can still be a bad person but do good things, essentially.
Yeah.
Because you can do good things with a selfish desire. You know, you can give to charity, but you're doing it because someone's feeling. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like you can have bad morals and still present yourself with good morals. You know.
Yeah.
And at that point, you know, consequences have nothing to do with that. It's desire, it's gain. You know.
Wow, that's it. I'm still thinking about the first thing you said about how for some people it is literally just the consequences.
For most people, it is just the consequences. For most people, I think it is just consequences that prevent them from.
No, I don't think it's most people. It can't be that many people.
I think it is most people.
No, I refuse to believe that. It can't be most people.
Go out and meet most people.
Most people? You're telling me most people are morally, just have bad morals?
I think so.
I mean, that's the entire premise of the Purge.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also, I don't know, in a fully, like, anarchic, or, like, anarchist society, who is it that's going to prevail? Those with bad morals. Because they're going to act violently, cause fear, and then immediately gain status.
I don't know. There's media that would dispute that, like the Walking Dead, for example. It's never, you know, because it's not just as simple as good triumphs evil. But when you raise something with fear instead of respect, then you have more options for betrayal. Essentially, when everyone's out for each other, it's exactly that.
Yeah, think about all the empires that have fallen. They were all dictatorial.
Yeah.
So all one's based on fear, whereas all of the civilizations that have remained are all capitalist, well, mostly capitalist, and like not full of fear-based, dictatorial structure. Like, you know, that's why. Yeah.
But I think it's most people too. I do agree with that.
You think it's most people?
Okay,
most people are awful.
Don't think about your friends. Don't think about your friends. Think about when you go into the co-op. Or think about all the people that you see when you go into the co-op. Do you really think that every single person in there... Like, yeah, no, if I think about it, think about the people that come into the cafe, because at least you speak to them. That is an example of just a sample of random people.
Okay,
most people have bad morals.
Okay, so
most people are not
for
good.
Take for example everyone that I've like encountered in the cafe.
You think none of them would have raped a person?
You're telling me you can judge someone's morals based on how they present themselves in public?
That's not what he's saying.
See,
no, you can judge someone's morals from talking to them.
Yeah.
You can judge someone's morals from talking.
Not just talking to them, but from knowing them.
Yeah,
but I feel like I know your morals. You know, I haven't just had a couple of conversations with you. I do feel like I know you. I feel like I know what you're capable of.
Yeah.
And I feel like even without the idea of consequence, you wouldn't just kill someone. You wouldn't just rape someone.
But most people wouldn't.
I don't know if that's true.
No, I think.
Are you saying that if you went into...
Most people wouldn't. It would be the small select few. It would be the small select few. Or like, I mean, say not small select. Say 30%.
Right.
So you
say 30% of people.
If you went into a club, and I'm genuinely asking, say you go into a club, there's a woman incredibly drunk, turn to any man in that club and say, hey, I think you can get away with it, essentially. Like, unironically be like, hey, dark alley down there, no one's there, I think you'd get away with it. how many of those people do you actually think wouldn't, essentially?
Most.
You really...
Oh, actually, maybe not in a club environment, but it depends on the environment. You know,
that's true.
A certain environment will attract a certain type of person.
That's true too. Club wasn't a good example.
You know, if you go to a club, you know, there's a lot of instances where at a club you get spiked.
Yeah.
Or you have bad people that are attracted to...
somewhat, because the problem is this is quite hard to quantify.
It is.
It's very difficult because you don't know enough people.
I'd say the only thing that you could say to perhaps quantify it is that if it were true, then there would be no criminal system.
That's a good point.
We would not need a criminal system if the majority of people were truly good.
If you could do things without consequence, if the consequence wasn't the only thing, then there would be no consequence.
Because let's say, for example, we live in a world where only 5% of people or 3% of people naturally commit crimes. In this instance, there would not be much of a reason to have a crime system.
No, I disagree with that, because what about the people that commit really horrific crimes? I mean, I know that's tiny fraction.
But you wouldn't need an extensive crime system for that, such as what we have in all countries.
Okay, but okay, here comes a really good question. You're telling me that everyone that commits crimes is morally bad? No, I disagree with that. I feel like a lot of people commit crimes based on the environment that they grew up in.
Yeah, but how is that relevant? How is that relevant to whether or not they're morally good or bad?
But does the crime they're committing, say somebody steals something, does that make them morally a bad person? It depends on what they steal, why they're stealing it.
This supports my argument, kind of, because all of the ones like that, where stealing food to survive or doing something that's in your benefit that you could argue is not morally wrong, these aren't severe crimes that would require a police system, right? You wouldn't need to have, if you had a small system of people, of only 1,000 people, and only 3% of the people in that system are committing those small, morally justifiable crimes, then you wouldn't need a crime unit because you'd help those people.
Think about how many home
The only
robberies...
time you need it is if they're committing really severe crimes and they are morally unjust people. Now you need a crime unit to stop them because they're not stopping. You need to prevent them. You need to arrest them. You need to lock them away.
Okay, here's my question then. Say, for example, I'm only right, but slightly. Say 40% of the entire population, 40%... are morally don't have bad morals. You're telling me in that instance, technically the majority still has good morals, but you would also at the same time need a good criminal system in place. Otherwise it would all go to shit.
Yes, you would.
Yeah. But I still do believe that most people have good morals and good fundamental principles that they live by.
If that was the case, and again, I'm going to bring it back to kind of your argument there, Hector. If that was the case, if you genuinely believe that most people wouldn't kill if given the opportunity, wouldn't rape if given the opportunity, then why do we have the consequence? Why do we have the prison terms and everything like that?
I guess.
Why does it even exist?
What do you mean? What do you mean? Why does it even exist? It exists for the people that do it, regardless. Okay, say for example,
but really do think about how much those consequences would stop a person doing it. Like, do you not believe that's a factor?
I see what you mean. Okay,
yeah.
So you're saying, okay, I get what you mean. You're saying that there's a majority of people. So say in your instance, 10% are morally good. They have good morals.
Yeah, I'm not saying that doesn't exist.
Say it's 10%, and then say 90% have bad morals, but only 10%, and say only 20% of them actually act on those.
Yeah.
You still have, okay.
You get what I mean?
Yeah, you still have all those people that aren't doing it purely based on the fact that they'd go to prison or that.
Essentially just based on fear, yeah. Not because of good morals, but because of...
but I just don't like to think about it that way, because then think about how many people you come into contact with.
Actually, it's probably a spectrum, really. Actually, the most logical assumption to make would be that 10% of the population have awful morals. They actually have a desire to commit loads of bad, terrible things.
We're talking about serial rapists, serial killers, child molesters.
But then you also have 10% of the population who are on the other end. But then on the other end, the best you can be is just perfect morals.
Yeah.
Like, there isn't anything
morals.
beyond that. So then the only thing in between that is not having perfect morals. So you'd have a large portion of people who don't have good morals, but
let's see.
But if you don't have good morals, you're not just going to go out of your way and do terrible stuff to people. But also, we don't all live in laboratories. We don't live in a laboratory environment where there are no consequences. Even if there wasn't a law system, there would be real consequences to you doing bad stuff, such as your friends not liking you anymore, your family hating you, losing all of your connections, not being able to get food because people don't like you anymore. All of those are consequences. But if you put someone in a laboratory situation where there actually were no consequences, I think most people...
Video games are a great example of that.
Actually, yeah, it is. Video games are a really good example of that, because online, most people are fucking assholes.
Yeah, because there's no consequence.
Because there's no consequence. Actually, that's actually it. That's the answer. Yeah.
Damn, that is actually a really good analogy.
Yeah.
Because online, people just act the way that they want to.
Yeah, and even online, there is some degree of consequence. Because say you take a game like Valorant, for example, you can still get banned from like competitive queue and stuff like that if you're hateful enough.
Yeah, but those consequences just aren't meaningful enough to really stop them.
But there are good people. It's not like everyone that you ever meet online has terrible morals. It's just maybe 80% of people.
Bruh, it is literally like 5% of people that you meet that are actually nice.
Yeah, exactly. That's genuinely, I think you'll agree, that's how I view life, you know.
That is how most people are.
That's so tragic.
I know.
What?
I know.
Bruh.
I know.
And that's why I think freedom is stupid. Don't give freedom to idiots. Let all the competent people run the country, because otherwise you get Brexit. You get a bunch of racist assholes who destroy the economy.
But again, I always say, as tragic as the idea of that is, it is just life. I think it's got to play its course. The chaos, in a way, has to be embraced, is my personal view. If it means the end of us, again, I think I've made it clear. Fair enough.
Yeah. Something now I'm wondering. Is your morals something that you are born with, or is it something that you are taught as you grow up as a child?
Taught. I think you brought up environment, and I don't discredit that idea. I just don't know how relevant it is in the end result. You know.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah. Could your morals would have to come from your environment?
Yeah, 100%. But
you couldn't get them from.
But once you have the morals, it becomes irrelevant. But in the actual gaining of the morals, 100% environment. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the people around you.
Yeah, so I guess, your morals are just a product of your life.
Yeah.
And especially the people around you. If you're born into a family of crime, you know, like fucking Oliver Twist, Artful Dodger type shit, that's just how it is. That's just, you don't even view it as weird or wrong. It's just how you view the world.
Yeah.
But
yeah. The only thing we haven't talked about is Enter the Spider-Verse, but I guess there's no point. Into the Spider-Verse. Yeah. I guess there's no point talking about it because we've already done it.
And I could talk about Oppenheimer and Barbie, I guess.
Oh no, because I want to watch it.
Yeah. Well, then, I feel like we've covered a lot.
Yeah.
You know.
We have.
Yeah.
Extraterrestrial, paranormal, general philosophy.
China.
We went to China.
You went to China?
Yeah, we went to China.
For how long?
10 days. It was a culturally diverse, rich in tradition.
Was it fulfilling?
It was very fulfilling.
Oh, I can't believe you didn't tell me, man.
Yeah.
Would you say you identify as a Chinese person now?
I think so.
So you're Chinese Hector?
I am.
You could say you're Chector.
Yes, I guess you could say that. Yeah.
Okay.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess we'll wait for the end and then we'll
wrap it up. Or we can wrap it up before he gets back. How rude would that be?
That'd be really rude. Yeah. This also, because we were actually talking throughout this might be the first episode where I don't actually have to edit out the toilet breaks. Because there's been 2 people here still talking when someone's gone to the toilet.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's
very efficient.
One actually have to cut off a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if we actually ever addressed it for the audience. Yeah, we were on acid.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this podcast has gone long enough that it's kind of worn off. Because we were on the back end of a trip. We didn't just begin. You'd know if we'd just begun. I mean, I feel pretty sober right now.
Yeah, I feel sober.
Yeah. I mean, right now the time is 2:43 and we took it at 8 p.m. So, yeah, it's been about 8 hours.
Yeah.
Good trip?
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You really didn't take much?
No. I had a very small amount, but that's good.
I'd literally 4 times the amount you had.
Yeah. Yeah, small amount's perfect for me. I'm not the biggest fan of acid, to be fair.
Yeah.
Just not my thing, really. But yeah, I can't love it. Can't love it all.
Yeah. Leander, what have you... Because this was Leander's first time taking acid.
It's been, I think, compared to what I was kind of initially expecting.
To be fair, I probably described my experience after taking 2.5 tabs of acid.
Yeah, you described your experience as being really, really awful. And so I was expecting this to be to either go really badly or going just okay. It's been a lot more fun than I thought it would have been.
Well, that it helps that, because again, when you took those, I think it was 3 tabs.
Was it 3 tabs?
Yeah.
You took 3.
It was just like way too much. Yeah.
But not only that, but I can't imagine, because like I've tried, as someone who's taken a lot of it and likes, I said, and knows how it kind of works. I've tried my best to keep everything light. You know, we watched Into the Spider-Verse. We've been talking. I haven't really allowed for any dark moments of self-reflection, essentially.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I can't imagine Daniel gave you the same liberty. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any that we did veer close to, like the weird, like...
The paranormal shit. But even then, it's in the context of we're just having an open discussion for a podcast.
Yeah.
You know? But no, you got to understand, you went into it with the right attitude, because with acid, it could go bad, 100%. But when you're around people...
Bad how? Is it more like bad mentally? Like you just...
Yes.
You feel like you're having a terrible time and you can't escape it.
Yeah, almost.
But to be fair, on half a tab, probably not that bad. I mean, it couldn't really go that bad.
Half a tab isn't a bad. I mean, I personally do think you could have handled a full tab, but for your first time, I guess I can agree with Hector that half a tab is fine, just to ease you into it, essentially.
Yeah.
For me, I took a full tab, but again, Daniel agrees, and I do kind of think his opinion's quite valid there. I appear to react to acid differently than you guys do.
Yeah.
It could be because of my autism. I don't know, but I apparently I actually have Daniel thinks I have a very different reaction to acids than the rest of you have.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing that I did find weird on that night out is I had no idea you were on acid until you actually told me.
Yeah.
Or no, maybe it was Hector that brought it up. It was either Hector or I know you for a fact told me yourself. Mm. You leaned over and you were like, "Oh, I'm on acid right now," and I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
Bruh, when? Because you just seemed like you were acting so normally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was you were just acting just like as you normally would.
Because it really is a case where, and again, I've been directing it, and because I've done acid alone, which is when I had my bad trip. Because not only was I alone, but then my friends brought over strangers to the house, and it blew me out. But you've got to direct it, because you're going to feel what you're going to feel regardless. You can't fight it. Fighting it is how it gets bad. So just direct yourself to the good emotions. And that's essentially what I was doing that entire night. I mean, at some point I went upstairs. I actually left you guys, but I was cool because I bought my headphones and I made sure to do that, because I just sat up there chilling to some good music, just kind of staying in my own head, not letting things go wild. And then when Hector came up, incredibly drunk, I got distracted from myself either way. But it really is a case of, and I've been doing it for the night. You've got to direct yourself to the good emotions, because if you end up in a pit stop,
a slump,
then it's hard to break out of it. Essentially,
I see.
Yeah, I think it's very different. Yeah, very different. I think the way that you experience it is different, at least from the way I experience it. Is more... I can't even explain it. Yeah, I can't even explain it, really.
Yeah, it's not really like a buzz.
3 tabs
like
for anyone is still also a very large amount, you know.
I still can't believe you took that much in your first.
It wasn't his first.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, that was
first.
okay,
No.
good.
But it was still just a fucking really stupid amount to take. See, at that stage,
Even
yes.
I think I would struggle with 3 tabs. I think I could do it.
At that
but
stage,
I think I would be
yes.
noticeable.
Yes, I could see the visuals. Like, stuff was actually changing, and I could see stuff. Like, when you take 1 tab, or half a tab, or even 1.5 tab, maybe not so much, but yeah. At that amount, like, I was, like, seeing stuff. Or, like, not even seeing stuff, kind of like experiencing stuff. Yeah.
And again, because because tabs also, while it is the same size paper, they come in different dials. You know,
And they were
volumes.
heavy dosages as well.
Really?
They were high, they were high dosage as well.
Because even me, as much as I love and I've done, the most I've ever done is 2. So you've still done more acid in a single sitting than I have before.
Yeah.
And I can, like, one day, I mean, despite your horror stories, I'd love to go on to a 3-dose night one night, but...
Yeah, I just had a terrible time.
And my doses, I mean, my 2 doses weren't baby doses by any means, but, I mean, yeah, 100%. It is, the more you take, you know, like with any drug, the more you take, the stronger it's going to feel.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, half a tab for your first night, I think probably works fine. I mean, again, the first time we took it, I took it the first time Maria took it too. Remember Hector's?
Oh yeah, she had a terrible time.
Like, okay, so
Really?
so her grandparents, was it like a month before, weeks?
It was like
days,
a month,
maybe.
It was like a month after her grandparents had died.
Yeah. So
Grandparents.
both.
Yeah.
And we both took the exact same amount first time. And at one point we were sat in a field. And I was on Daniel and Blanca's wavelength, where we were just sitting there listening to music, getting groovy. Hector was trying to join our wavelength, but Maria was literally screaming as loud as she can in the middle of the field, because she obviously gotten herself into a slump and could not break out of it. She was just constantly thinking about death and her grandparents and all that sort of stuff.
Bruh.
She was screaming into the void. And Hector, obviously, supportive boyfriend, was trying to do something. But at the same time, he knew it would boot him out.
Yeah.
So I stepped in.
Yeah, that is a really shit situation to be in, because at the same time, you're hit with 2 options. Either you ruin your trip and your fucking night, but you appear to be a good boyfriend, or you just let her do her own thing and try and enjoy the rest of your trip without completely ruining your own night as well. And
as morally wrong as it may have been at the time, I lent him more towards the second option. I came over and I was like, look, I mean, again, it was my first time too, but I was like, look, I think she's just, you know, it's a drug at the end of the day, you know, that's still something I say to him if we were, like, in the last bad trip you had with me, that's the best thing I can say. It's a drug. It's going to wear off. You're in a bad place. She's clearly in a bad place. It will wear off. You just try and block it out. And I can't speak for you. I don't know if it hurt you to do that, but that was my best advice. And at some point, I did manage to slide him back onto our wavelength. But she never even touched our wavelength.
Really?
Yeah, she spent that entire night terrified, essentially.
Yeah.
Really? That bad?
Yeah.
Full on screaming. We couldn't go back to your house until like 4 a.m. because she was just screaming. We had to basically wait until she screamed herself out, and it started to wear off.
She must have, like, destroyed her voice doing that.
I can imagine.
The next morning, she would have just, like, literally lost her voice doing that.
Yeah. Because, and again, and there is also the fact that different people react differently, you know.
See, really, the true Chads of the story are the fucking screaming babies on planes that have the immortal ability to endlessly cry.
Did you have one of those?
Yeah, lots.
Oh,
lots of them. Lots of screaming babies.
Oh,
it's fucking hilarious.
Did you have headphones?
Yeah, so it wasn't too bad.
Good.
On the way back, you didn't.
Yeah, I left mine in China.
Are they still there?
I mean, they'll be brought back in September when. But
they've been on a longer holiday than you have.
Yeah, they have.
You should be jealous of your headphones.
Yeah, I should.
That sucks. Yeah, I bet you screaming babies suck. Fuck you, screaming babies.
Yeah,
why bring a baby onto a 7-hour flight?
I know.
Unless you have to.
So I mean, one of them was an 8-hour flight.
Yeah,
8 hours. Fucking hell.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm glad you enjoyed your trip. Again, when I say it's more than just different people react differently. If for example, if you had a bad, if you came into this feeling wrong, I wouldn't have let you take it. Like if you came into it like even something as simple as I heard about a friend, his fucking mum died recently. It was rough. I was helping him through it. I would have been like, you might not want to take it right now, but you haven't, you know. And again, I don't know what Daniel was thinking, and in a way, what you were thinking, letting Maria take it so close to her grandparents' death. Yeah. That's a crazy thing to do, pal.
Yeah. Well, I guess we were all young and foolish.
Again, after a month, it's like, okay, this. Hopefully, some of it's, you know, you've at least started the grieving process, you know.
Yeah.
But no, she seemed to have bottled it all up. But yeah, and I could tell, obviously, you just come back from China, I had a wonderful time, you were a bit jet lagged, obviously, but that's nothing.
Yeah.
You were in the right frame of mind to take an acid trip. And even I'm not an idiot. If I knew I was going to have a bad time, obviously I wouldn't take it. I wouldn't just try and trick myself into it, you know?
Yeah.
You can't trick yourself.
Yeah, you can't.
Exactly.
As much as you can try to gaslight yourself, deep down, you know.
But that brings this podcast to conclusion. Our longest podcast so far. Hopefully, boy, I sure do hope we don't lose the recording.
I'm going to save it as soon as we finish it. That'd be devastating, actually.
That would be fucking
devastating. I'd be really, really upset if
I'd be genuinely upset because I might want to listen back to this because there were some really good conversations that we had.
I listen back to our episodes all the time, genuinely. Yeah. Actually, that's one last thing I can bring up. So I was listening back a couple of weeks ago to one of our episodes where we were talking about a episode of Rick and Morty, and you brought up an argument that sounded a lot like what David was saying.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
So it was in an episode where is in the one where Rick gets the two crows.
Yeah.
It begins with a little montage of Morty doing various things about Rick. Yeah. And at some point, he goes and essentially stops the Taliban. And this was during the time where we had, where America had taken out the forces out of Afghanistan and all that stuff. And in the episode, I remember actually being like, whoa, this doesn't sound like heads up. You were like, I think that's too soon. The conflict's actually happening right now. Imagine, and I brought up the exact same argument because you were like, imagine being someone in Afghanistan trying to get some escapism by watching Rick and Morty, and you see that. And I was like, well, no. If you're a person in Afghanistan in the middle of that conflict,
you shouldn't be watching Rick and Morty.
You shouldn't be watching Rick and Morty.
But you actually,
that's interesting.
I can try and find it and play it for you at some point, not off podcast. But yeah, you basically said you basically said David's argument.
I vaguely remember it. Yeah. Wow. How long ago was that?
That'd have been 2021. Yeah.
Well, I guess I've matured a lot in the past 2 years. Yeah. Wow, that's very cringe. Yeah. Even more cringe that David is still living as a 21-year-old man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
21-year-old version of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that is it.
5 times more the autism, 10 times more the retardation. Yeah.
And if you believe his claims, 20 times more the pussy.
Yeah.
Oh God, Jesus fucking.
Let's not get into that because I already have to believe
this podcast will go on forever if we start talking about David.
Yeah, it really will. Yeah. I mean, unless anyone's got any final word.
No, I really enjoyed
We went to China.
You went to China?
We went to China.
For how long?
For 10 days.
Holy shit.
It was culturally diverse, rich in tradition. It was an amazing...
Was it fulfilling?
It was fulfilling, yeah.
Wow, I can't believe you didn't bring it up.
Yeah.
For the next episode.
Yes. You can talk about China in the next episode.
Yeah.
Sorry we couldn't get to China during this episode. We had so much more to talk about. Yeah. Next episode, it could be all about how you and Leander went to China and got up to various mischief.
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, thank you for listening. And I hope you have a good one. Bye.